Hey, we've been talking about how do you support life, right?
Well, you got to support mothers.
Right. And we were talking about fathers as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So maybe we should talk to somebody who wants to make sure that fathers are part of the picture. We've got Congressman Mike Johnson on the phone with us right now. Congressman Johnson, welcome back to American Ground Radio.
Hey guys, sorry for the background noise. I've literally just stepped off the House floor in the middle of a vote series, but I wanted to talk to you because this is a really important issue. We filed today a bicameral piece of legislation. I think it's an important one. It will allow pregnant mothers to receive child support. And I think this is time for us to acknowledge the sanctity of life, that life begins at conception, and the law ought to recognize that.
Yeah, it's called the Unborn Child Support Act, and this is what I think is interesting about this is that mothers, can go to court and ask a judge to make the father in the case pay for child support, and it's retroactive back to the day of conception. Why did you decide to put this bill forward?
Well, we've had a sea change in our federal law. The Dobbs case, of course, overturned Roe after nearly 40 years as a recognition, and I think we need to say it loudly and consistently and with conviction that life does begin at conception. And so this bill is a straightforward first step towards just updating our federal laws. We want to reflect that fact. And I really think that there may be some Democrats that will join us. As I said, it's a bicameral effort, so we filed in the Senate and in the House on the same day. And it's just an effort to provide mothers with child support payments. I mean, who could be against that? But we recognize that while the child is in the womb, that is no less, there's no less of a need for that support. And so the law ought to recognize it, and this gives the opportunity for that.
Right, because women do start incurring expenses, doctor visits and other things like that, even before the child is born, and getting ready for the birth, right? I mean, there's costs that come along in today's society with being pregnant.
Well, that's right, and this would further incentivize women to keep their children, or even if they're going to opt into adoption or have the child in foster care, whatever. This would encourage them to take that pregnancy to term, and it provides a lot of flexibility here. Now, this is any mother that doesn't want to involve the father, then she doesn't have to engage in this at all. But it allows the opportunity for those who do, and it requires judges to consult with the mothers on payment plans. I mean, it gives the mom's discretion as to whether or not those child support payments would be awarded retroactively. The legislation would allow for that, but it's not automatic. And then, the mandates about paternity tests completely at the discretion of the mother. And it obviously would not be conducted if the test would put the unborn child at risk. So lots of safeguards. We have lots of support for it already. I mean, some of the biggest names, conservatives and Republicans in the Senate and the House are already on board, and I suspect we'll have the vast majority of our colleagues joining on. We have endorsements from all the big national pro-life groups already, because it really is just a common sense piece of legislation.
Now, Congressman, are there any Democrats in Congress or in the Senate otherwise that are supporting this bill?
Well, not yet. There are a couple of colleagues here who still very quietly profess to believe in the sanctity of life. They've not voted that way, except for one. I can name one Democrat on the floor, who's on the floor right now as I'm looking across the room. It's witness on the SU publicly. But look, I think that for all that you hear about how we need to, support mothers and those, single moms and all the rest, and you hear this from the left all the time. We certainly believe in that. We believe the sanctity of life, and the sanctity of life from conception to natural death. We're for the babies and the mothers, and this is a way to emphasize that and have it reflected in our federal law. I think it's a good bill, and I think it has a good chance of passing. If not in this Congress, then when we begin the new one with the Republican majority in January.
Yeah, Mike, I actually wanted to take the time to say thank you personally for this, because as you've been on the show before and as we've been talking together at different events, I have asked you a couple of different times, what are we going to do as conservatives to support mothers, to show that we are pro-life, not just anti-abortion? This is something that we've talked about several times, and I see this bill as being pro-life, not just anti-abortion, but being pro-life and pro-mother. And I wanted to say, look, I've harassed you about this in the past, and I think we've been on the same page, and I just wanted to say thanks for putting this bill together.
Well, I appreciate saying that, Stephen, and it also emphasizes the importance of fathers as well, their responsibility, right? I mean,
right.
Ensuring that mothers have the ability to receive that financial support, that restores the duty of fathers as well. We have an epidemic of fatherlessness and those who are unengaged, and the federal law should support this. Provide for the children from the moment that their child's life begins, and we know that begins at the very beginning.
Look, and look, I know you were on another panel yesterday. You've had some video going around of an exchange you had with a Democrat colleague yesterday on a panel about what was it? How difficult things were going to be after Roe v. Wade. Was that the name of that hearing going on yesterday?
Oh yeah, it's just pure theatrics here now. They're trying to proclaim that all of your personal freedoms are in jeopardy because the court overturned Roe and simply fairly and squarely applied the Constitution as written, as if that's some sort of threat. The joke is on them, because as we point out over and over, and I have done in the hearings for 2 days now in a row, look, the first unalienable right, you want to talk about personal freedoms, the first freedom boldly declared in our nation's birth certificate, the Declaration, which we just celebrated July 4th, says that you have an unalienable right. The first one listed is the right to life. That's the right to be born. You can't enjoy the other freedoms if you don't have that, right? And so they gloss over it. When I talk about all these other things, they are livid that the court has done the right thing here, and all you're hearing is loud squealing and gnashing of teeth. But look, the American people believe in the sanctity of life. The American people don't want children to be aborted in late term, but the Democrats are advancing a bill right now that would do that. They would allow abortion on demand all the way up to the moment of birth. That would put us in the category of China and North Korea, guys. We can't stand for it. We're not going to allow it to happen.
Congressman Mike Johnson, thank you so much for being with us here on the show, and thank you so much for representing the people of Northwest Louisiana as well as you do there in our nation's capital.
I appreciate you guys so much. Keep it up.
Well, coming up next here